House will be in order. All those not having privileges to the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests will please rise as we're led in prayer today by the gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Gerhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we bow in prayer. Thank you, dear Lord, for the blessings of freedom that you have given all of us to be Americans. Thank you additionally, Lord, for allowing us to be West Virginians. Help us, dear Lord, as members of this chamber to utilize the status that we have obtained as elected representatives to bring greater prosperity and a better way of life to all West Virginians. Guide and direct all of our actions so that we may achieve that all of us in West Virginia are capable of achieving. In thy most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Members and guests will please remain standing as we're led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the gentleman from the 64th, Delegate Householder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our guests in the gallery and our colleagues, please join me with stating our pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Tuesday, January 16, 2018.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Ellington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
The gentleman from the 27th asks unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The journal will be approved as having been read. Introduction of guests. The lady from the 57th, Delegate Rowland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all the delegates from Mineral County, I would like to introduce some of our wonderful firemen from Mineral County, Tim Evans and Dave Harmon. If they would please stand and the House give them a wide and wonderful West Virginia welcome.
The lady from the 65th, Delegate Upson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleagues from the 66th and the 67th District, we have a constituent from Jefferson County in the North Gallery, Mike Donnelly. Would he stand, and would the House please make him welcome?
Gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Ellington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Rodney Miller from Boone County, we have Miss Jeannie Elkins and Alan Elkins from the Fair Shake Network. They're up in the center gallery. If they would stand and be recognized, and the House make them feel welcome.
John from 34th, Delegate Boggs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just absolutely thrilled that we have some hardy firefighters from Braxton County here today that braved the cold weather and the bad roads, and if they would stand, they're in the South Gallery. Bridget McLaughlin, Tracy Parsons, Randy James, Kelly Rose, Paul Beatty, and I believe they have honorary assistant with them, my wife Jean. If everybody would please make them welcome.
John from the 22nd, Delegate Eldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the 22nd and 23rd Delegate District, we have a fireman here, Doug Eastep. Would you please stand? Let's make him feel welcome.
John from 36, Delegate Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Kanawha County delegation, I have a group from my alma mater, Chamberlain Elementary, that's serving as pages today. We have Shelby Bender, Malia Dukes, Rachel Hill, Fernando Valdivia, Catherine Crowder, Madeline Green, Ellen Shatnawi, Madison Lemaster, Abigail Morton, Ashlyn White, JoJo Wall, and my son Braden Robinson, who's celebrating his birthday today. And then we have their parents who braved the snow today to get them here. If the House will make them feel welcome.
John from the 5th, Delegate Pethel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Romine from the 6th District, we have some people here for Disability Advocacy Day. They're in the rear gallery as I call their name. If they would please stand. They're the part of the People First group from Paden City, Tyler, and Wetzel County. Lewis Newell, John Brown, Charles Roberts, Lindsay Fry, and her mother, Danita Fry, Mickey Mace, Katie Son, Susie Abraham, and their advisor, Inetta Fluharty. She's the group advisor for Paden City, Elkins, and Buckhannon of the People First. Thank you very much, and the House would please make them welcome.
John from 13th, Doggett Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery today, we have a group of hardworking men from the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades and Glazers, District Council 53, Mike Lively, Lamont Lewis, and Glenn McKendry. Would the House please make them welcome?
John from the 4th, Doggett Farrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Delegate Canistero and I from Marshall, and part of Ohio County, would like to welcome West Virginia Parent Training Information spokespeople, one of my former students, Pat Sampson Elliott, and Julie Dial. Would they please stand and let the House make them welcome?
John for the 55th, Doggett Spinagle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we have 3 of the finest volunteer firefighters from the state all the way down here in Hardy County, which was a good long trip last night, and they hit some snow. So when I say your name, I want you to rise up there. First, Doug Mongold, please stand. Lance Taylor, please stand. And Harry Shockey, please stand. Everybody, please give them a warm welcome.
We were scheduled to have some students from Pinch Elementary. I have not seen them yet. I know with school, the school situation, they may not be here, but if any of the students were able to make it, if they would rise. I haven't seen them, but I didn't want to miss any of them if they happen to be here, and I haven't seen them, but I don't believe they're here. Gentleman from the 58th, Doug Coles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Benjamin Silverberg from Morgantown. If the House will make the good doctor welcome.
Further introductions. Reports of standing committees.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2662, prohibiting the waste of game animals, game birds, or game fish. House Bill 2693, relating to state ownership of wildlife. House Bill 2696, relating to crossbow hunting. House Bill 2708, relating to a lawful method for a developmentally disabled person to purchase a base hunting license. And House Bill 3020, relating to criminal penalties for the offenses of hunting, trapping, or fishing on the lands of another person. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that they each do pass as amended and that they be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Report be received, and each bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2641, relating to pension benefits exempt from state income taxation. Reports the same back with amendment, with the recommendation that it do pass as amended and that it be referred to Committee on Finance.
Report be received, and will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2566, West Virginia Fresh Food Act, and House Bill 3027, imposing a tax on cattle, which is to be used to help fund the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Wildlife Services Fund. Reports the same back with amendment, with the recommendation that each do pass as amended and that they be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received. Each bill be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 4002, providing that all delegates shall be elected from 100 single districts following the United States Census in 2020, and House Bill 4013, clarifying venue in West Virginia state courts as it applies to non-residents of the state. Reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 4009, State Settlement and Recovered Funds Accountability Act. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended and that it be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Industry and Labor has had under consideration House Bill 2546, allowing the replacement costs of employer-provided property to be deducted from an employee's final paycheck if the property is not returned. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended and that it be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 3089 relating to the adoption of instructional resources for use in the public schools. Reports back a committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4026, exempting cashiers from licensure under the Larry W. Border Pharmacy Practice Act. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass.
The report be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4025, permitting reciprocity for licensure as a pharmacy technician. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass and that it be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4023 relating to the regulation of dialysis technicians. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended and that it be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Report be received and the bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4035, creating a legislative coalition to study and report to the legislature on palliative care. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Political Subdivisions has had under consideration House Bill 2843, permitting Class 3 and Class 4 municipalities to be included in the West Virginia Tax Increment Act. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received. The bill referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Political Subdivisions has had under consideration House Bill 2654, expanding county commission's ability to dispose of county or district property. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended and that it be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Report be received and the bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 4038, requiring training conducted on behalf of a state agency to be provided in state-owned facilities, and House Bill 4039, exempting short-term license holders to submit information to the State Tax Commission once the term of the permit has expired. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that each do pass as amended and that they be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received and the bills be referred to the Committee on Finance. Reports of select committees. Messages from the executive. Messages from the Senate. Resolutions. Petitions. Motions. Bills introduced.
House Bill 4161, exempting the State Conservation Committee and the Conservation Agency from the requirements of the Purchasing Division for contracts related to flood recovery.
Gentleman from the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and each bill be considered formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as listed on the chamber automation system.
The gentleman 58th asks unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, each bill be considered formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Each bill be considered formally introduced and so referred. Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
House Bill 2869, providing for paid leave for certain state officers and employees during a declared state of emergency.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Schott, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2869 provides paid leave for certain state employees during a declared state of emergency. The bill should be familiar to many of us. In 2016, this bill passed the House with a vote of 99 yeas and one person not voting. It passed the Senate unanimously, 34-0. It was, however, vetoed by Governor Tomlin in that year. Again, last session, with a vote of 99-1, with the one not voting, it was passed by the House. It was amended in the Senate and did not make it out on the last night of the session. So we're revisiting this bill for a third time. Specifically, it establishes a new section designated Section 15-5-5B that states that a state employee who is designated as an essential member of an emergency aid provider may be granted leave from his or her state employment with pay for not more than 15 work days in each year. And that's for the purpose of providing disaster relief or emergency services in areas of the state in which a state of emergency has been declared. In order for that leave to be granted, two requirements must be met. First, the employee must be designated as an essential member by the chief executive officer or other officer or agent of the emergency aid provider who has authority to act on its behalf. And secondly, the employer's immediate supervisor must approve it. If the leave is granted, the state employee will not incur loss of pay, loss of annual leave, sick leave, earned overtime compensation, seniority, or compensatory time. In other words, no benefits would be adversely affected by this leave. The state employee will be compensated at his or her regular rate of pay for those regular work hours that the state employee is absent. Any supervisor who grants such leave must make a report to the governor, which will include the name of the state employee and the total cost, if any, to the total cost, if any, to the employee agency if it needs a temporary replacement of that state employee who is granted leave. The governor will keep a record of the total cost reported, and the total cost for all state agencies shall not exceed $300,000. However, leave to exceed the cost limitation of $300,000 may be granted if, upon approval of the governor, and the cost to the employee agency is repaid from the Civil Contingency Fund. A person may not be designated as an essential member of an emergency aid provider if the person is employed by an emergency aid provider that is located in or that customarily serves the area included within the state of emergency. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Are there other members desiring to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. All those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. The majority of members present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk, please report the title.
House Bill 2869.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk, please communicate the acts of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Bills on second reading.
House Bill 4005, clarifying that appeals to the Supreme Court are a matter of right.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading. Bills on second reading. Bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4020, making technical corrections in the code when referencing Chapter 49.
Bill be advanced. Leaves of absence. Gentleman from the 58th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues, Delegates Blair, Moore, Rohrbach, and White.
Without objection, leaves will be granted. Remarks by members of the House. Gentleman from the 27th, Doug Gerhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Most of us in this chamber realize in today's world we get to see our picture on social media pretty frequently. Most of the time that I see mine, I'm posted next to two very, very good-looking grandchildren, and they make me look a lot better. However, as I made my way home last night, I noticed that my picture was being posted, and I was honored again because my picture was posted next to some of my esteemed colleagues, gentlemen from the 36th, gentleman from the 64th, gentleman from the 63rd. And I was very proud to have a picture next to those gentlemen. However, when I read a little further down in the comments, my pride went away just a tad because the comments were not near as flattering as the photograph. And the comments had to do with PEIA and a bill that we had that came to the House floor last year for consideration, though we never got to vote. That bill came to me, and frankly, what I assumed that the bill originally did was not what it accomplished. And as it made progress through the House and down here to the floor, I put together an amendment that I think many of you all may remember that sort of turned that bill upside down and gave greater flexibility to public employees with regard to their choices and the ability to have a greater or lesser premium based upon what their needs might be. That amendment was on the floor, and I came in here every day for a few days ready to dig in and defend that amendment because, frankly, I had signed onto a bill that didn't do quite what I thought it was supposed to do. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, that bill moved its way on to the inactive calendar, and that's where the session ended and it died a slow and painless death. However, the process of rolling bills over from one session to the next, 1 year to the next, I guess somebody decided to look at it and assume that my name being on that bill meant that I was supportive of a concept, quite frankly, that maybe the only time in 8 years I've ever agreed with the lead for the Education Association. And public comment has not been very positive. So I want to be certain that everyone in this chamber recognizes that I support greater flexibility within PEIA for our public employees to determine the coverages that they need. And I don't necessarily, I don't at all support the bill that was out there. And as of this morning, matter of fact, I met one of the other co-sponsors who I assume had an incorrect assumption this morning. The gentleman from the 63rd were there this morning to remove ourselves from sponsorship of that bill. So, anybody wants to know the status of the bill, the nice thing about having done something in this chamber is there's recorded history. The status of that bill dying on the inactive calendar is right here. And a copy of the amendment that flipped that upside down, that allowed the state to pay 100% of the cost of PEIA, as opposed to the 80-20 rule, or down to between 60 and 80 and 20 and 40 that bill purported, is also right here. Having your picture on social media is great, and having your picture on social media next to esteemed colleagues is also great. However, be careful of the comments that may attach themselves to it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
John from 16th, Doug Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to return to the second order of business for purpose of introduction.
Without objection, gentlemen may proceed.
Thank you. In the South Gallery with us today, we have a friend of mine, a guest of mine, Mr. Matt Spurlock. He will be actually running for the 16th District for the House of Delegates. House, please make him feel welcome.
John from 64th, Doug Householder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent that the gentleman's comments from the 27th be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, gentleman's remarks will be printed in the appendix of the journal. John from the 27th, Doug Ellington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mainly wanted to recognize some individuals. As you know, with our snowfall last night, made a nice postcard picture for our state because it was very nice. But I would like to recognize some of the people that took care of clearing all of that last night. As you know, I make many of my trips back and forth to Princeton and Charleston. I ended up going back last night. But I'd like to thank the West Virginia Department of Highways and the Turnpike for all those people that were up in the middle of the night clearing that path, and also for all those throughout the rest of the state, make our travel safe for our citizens and our visitors. So I think they deserve a round of applause. Thank you.
Lady from the 51st, Dr. Fleshire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Return to the second order of business.
Without objection, lady may proceed.
I'd like to introduce someone in our South Gallery. We have two people here today from the Northern West Virginia Center for Independent Living. I always have such a hard time with that, including the Executive Director, Jan Derry. I would like to thank her for all the work that she does for people with disabilities, and I would like the House to give her a warm welcome.
John from the 20th, Doug Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also return to the second order of business.
John, may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Dean, we want to introduce the Fire Chief from Mingo County, Mr. John Hall. If he could stand in the House, make him welcome.
Further announcements, or excuse me, further remarks by members. Miscellaneous business. Gentleman from the 58th.
Mr. Speaker, subject to announcements, I move the House adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Other announcements. Gentleman from the 64th, Delegate Householder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on Finance will meet this afternoon for a budget hearing by the Department of Administration. And Mr. Speaker, the Chairman of Finance would like to meet with each work group chair at 1:45 today in his office.
John from 33rd, Delegate Henshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Judiciary Committee will resume the posted agenda upstairs in the committee room this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and we will also meet at 9 a.m. on Friday morning. Thank you.
John from the 51st, Douglas Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Education will meet today at 2 p.m. in the Education Committee room. The agenda is posted.
Lady from the 49th, Douglas Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Republican members of the House Health and Human Resources Committee will caucus today with the chairman at 4 p.m. in his office.
Lady from the 65th, Douglas Upson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Banking and Insurance will meet on January 18th at 10 a.m. in the House Government Organization Committee room. The agenda will be posted.
Lady from the 57th, Delegate Rowan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Senior Citizens Issues will meet tomorrow, January 18th at 1 o'clock in House Gov.org. The agenda will be posted.
John from 28th, Delegate Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security will meet today at 1 o'clock this afternoon in the Education Committee room. The agenda is posted. Thank you, sir.
John for the 11th, Delegate Atkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Small Business, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development will meet Thursday, January 18th at 9 a.m. in the House Education Room. The agenda will be posted.
John for the 13th, Delegate Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The West Virginia AFL-CIO will have a labor caucus today, Wednesday the 17th, immediately following this morning's session in the Lewis McManus Room 252, and lunch will be provided. All are welcome.
Further announcements. If not requested for the House, is a motion by the gentleman from the 58th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the House adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber.
Would those on the floor and our guests in the gallery please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by the Rabbi Victor Urecki of the B'nai Jacob Synagogue in Charleston, West Virginia. And then please remain standing as we are led in the pledge this morning by the senator from Tucker. Rabbi Urecki.
Almighty God, God who inspires us, God who comforts us, God who confronts us to act, God who challenges us to live lives that matter, God who can be found by looking in awe from atop our gorgeous hills and mountains, and God who is near, watches and protects our hardworking men and women beneath our precious soil and in the mines. Dear God, today and during this session, be also near these dedicated servants of our state who have been entrusted with taking care of West Virginia and our citizens. Grant these great leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they proceed today and until the end of this session with justice and compassion, thoughtfulness and understanding, courage and strength, most of all with love, especially for those most vulnerable. Help them work together for the people of West Virginia. Help them realize that in this room they must learn to become brothers and sisters if they truly want to serve their brothers and sisters. Help them rededicate themselves to the common good. May they remember that life is about helping the downtrodden, the weak, and those who need a champion. Help them today become those champions and keep the dream of this great country and this magnificent state bright and strong. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. The senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the members and guests in the gallery would stand as we pay tribute to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Reading of the journal.
West Virginia Legislature Senate Journal, Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. The Senate met.
The senior senator from the 5th requests unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Introduction of guests. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to welcome our honorary pages for the day. Please stand and be recognized as your name is called. As guest of the senator from Mercer, we have Erica Hartwell, Chase Moore, and Avery Thompson. And as guest as the senator from Berkeley, we have Grace Martin and Akua Buate and Carly Eversole. And as guest as the senator from Kanawha, we have Savannah Blevins and Anna Blevins. If they would all please rise and the Senate give them a warm welcome. Further introductions, the senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. As part of our West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians Doc for the Day program, it's my honor to welcome Dr. Benjamin Silverberg. If he would stand in the Senate, please make him welcome.
Further introductions, the senator from Marion County.
Mr. President, on behalf of the senator from the 16th and the senator from Jefferson, I'd like to introduce one of our chaperones for our pages from Martinsburg South Middle School, Ivy Buate, who is in the South Gallery. If she would please rise and the senator would make her welcome.
Further introductions, the senator from Nicholas County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is Firefighter Day at the Capitol. And you're going to be seeing a number of firefighters going through the halls, sitting down, wanting to meet with their representatives. Today, sitting in the South Gallery, we have representatives of the West Virginia State Firemen's Association. We have John Holstein, G.T. Parsons, Tad Malcolm, Jerry Loudon, Dustin Amtower, Chad Lindsay, and there may be a couple more that have snuck in that I don't have their names. Gentlemen sitting in the South Gallery, if you would please stand and allow the Senate to give you a warm Senate welcome.
The senator from Mercer County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very proud that we have some pages today who came all the way from Mercer County in this horrible weather. But I'd also like to recognize the parents and grandparents who drove all the way to bring them here. Tommy and Beth Thompson and Marvin and Judy Steele. I'm not sure which gallery, but would the Senate make them feel welcome?
Further introductions? Further introductions. Communications from the House.
There are none.
Communications from the Executive.
There are none.
Reports from standing committees.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 53, correcting code reference in regard to certain handgun safety and training requirements, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 62, adjusting requirements for hiring school attendance directors, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Kenny Mann, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 98, creating incentives to consolidate local governments, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, C. Edward Gaunch, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 110, requiring certain licensees notify law enforcement or EMS of life-threatening emergency on premises, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 133, exempting renewal of certain contracts entered into during declared state of emergency, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, C. Edward Gaunch, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 134, authorizing Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management to engage individuals for emergency response and recovery, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, C. Edward Gaunch, Chair.
The report will be received and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining has had under consideration Senate Bill 150 relating to wind power projects, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Randy E. Smith, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining has had under consideration the following bills dealing with DEP legislative rules: Senate Bill 155, Senate Bill 156, Senate Bill 157, Senate Bill 158, Senate Bill 159, Senate Bill 160, Senate Bill 162, Senate Bill 163, and Senate Bill 164. And reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass, but under the original double committee references, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Randy E. Smith, Chair.
The reports will be received and referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Further reports?
Yes, sir. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration the following bills dealing with DHHR legislative rules: Senate Bill 165, Senate Bill 166, Senate Bill 168, Senate Bill 170, and Senate Bill 171, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass, but under the original double committee references, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Tom Takubo, Chair.
The report will be received, the reports will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration Senate Bill 167, DHR rule relating to public water systems, and has amended same, and Senate Bill 169, DHHR rule relating to West Virginia clearance for access. and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass as amended, but under the original double committee references, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Tom Takubo, Chair.
Reports will be received, and under the bill's original committee references will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 263, eliminating film tax credits, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
The report will be received.
That's all I have, sir.
Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. The senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Requesting unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 302 through Senate Bill 309 be considered and introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
The senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 302 through Senate Bill number 309 be considered, introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Motions. Resolutions.
Senate concurrent resolution by Senators Ferns, Carmichael, Mr. President, Weld, Stallings, Beach, Plymel, and Boso, supporting construction of a Gold Star Families Memorial Monument.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over 1 day.
Senate Resolution 9 by Senators Takubo, Stallings, Prezioso, Beach, Plymel, Klein, and Boso, designating January 17th, 2018 as Disability Advocacy Day.
The junior senator from the 17th.
Mr. President, it's my pleasure to have and present to you the first.
The junior senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be placed upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 9, designating January 17th, 2018 as Disability Advocacy Day at the Legislature.
The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to represent to the body the Fair Shake Network. They are a grassroots organization here in West Virginia dedicated to a fair shake for people with disabilities and to the belief that diversity makes our communities much stronger. The Fair Shake Network provides training and systems advocacy on issues affecting people with disabilities through statewide grassroots cross-disability activities, including supporting people with disabilities and their families and participating in our legislative process. Their vision is that the people with disabilities will have an equal opportunity to fully participate in their communities and realize their dreams. They have values that all people should have equal opportunities and support the need to be full members of their community, states, and nation, that everyone has a value and something to contribute, and if they don't speak up, things just won't change, and there are strength in numbers when all work together. And so for that, I present them for a resolution today.
Question for the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Are there others desiring to speak to the resolution? If not, all those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes I declare the ayes have it. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
The senator from Ohio moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. Is there objection? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present the resolution. Senate will please come to order. Senate will please come to order. Are there further resolutions?
No, sir.
Motions? Petitions?
There are none.
Unfinished business?
Senate Concurrent Resolution 5 requesting DMAPS and Division of Personnel develop plan to raise correctional officers' salaries.
Bill will be referred to Committee on Government Organization. Further unfinished business?
No, sir.
Bills on third reading?
There are none.
Bills on second reading?
There are none.
Bills on first reading? Senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered as having been read and advanced to second reading.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered as having been read a first time. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Bills be advanced. Introduction of guest. Remarks by members of the Senate. The Senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last evening, the mother of one of our colleagues, the Senator from Harrison, Lucy Romano, passed away. I'd like to ask the Senate to please stand in a moment of silence in her memory.
Stand.
Mr. President.
Amen. Thank you. Further remarks? The Senator from Logan County.
Mr. President, I just want to speak a little bit today. I'm sure quite a few of you all have received messages and phone calls and things like that concerning teachers. You know, just the other day we spoke about trying to make it to where our kids could be able to go do community and technical colleges for free. And I think that is a phenomenal plan, and I would support that wholeheartedly. But then we have to also ask ourselves, will our kids be ready? And I'm going to tell you that, you know, I have been speaking with quite a lot of people out there, and I spent 4 years in the classroom. And I will tell you that, you know, every day during lunch I got to sit down with the teachers, and, you know, I can say unfortunately, but the truth is I was fortunate because I'm military retired. I'm on the VA system. So I didn't fall under the PEIA system. But I will tell you that the conversation in every single lunchroom, you know, experience that I had focused on teachers talking about the issues and PEIA, salary, and, you know, were the biggest issues. You know, right now we had teachers here the other day. I'm sure they visit a lot of your all's offices. But I'm telling you right now, we're not listening to our teachers. We may say we're listening to our teachers, but we are not truly listening to our teachers. You know, when we sit at the State of the State address and we talked about, well, not we, but it was said 1%. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, last year when they said 2%, that was going to equate to about $35 every 2 weeks, and PEIA was going to gobble that up and then some. So a 1% is nothing. It's a slap in the face, and that's exactly what these teachers are feeling. And I'm telling you because they have spoke to me, and I'm sure they're speaking to you as well. If they're not speaking to you directly, check your emails because I'm pretty sure they're sending you emails. There has to be a way for us to do more. You know, we are on the. You show me the richest grounds, and I will show you the poorest people. And we're standing on the richest grounds. We've got coal. We've got natural gas. They're talking about all this money coming to our state, but what is it going to do for our people? I'm telling you, we're losing our teachers. Our good teachers are fleeing to the border states because they get offered more pay. And what we're doing is we're saying we're going to give them a percentage, which is garbage when it's 1% to 2%. The only thing percentages do when you do that in terms of teachers is the superintendents of the schools, they get the big benefit, but the teachers get a couple $100s a year, and once again, PEIA eats it all up. Right now, there's a lot of things that are under attack with our teachers and are making them want to leave our state. You know, they did a poll, and PEIA, pay, and seniority were the top issues that were most important to these people. And I will tell you, you know, in terms of seniority, you know, a lot of the people that have been teaching for a couple decades feel that without seniority, when they start to speak out about the garbage that's going on, they will be targeted. And there's a lot of garbage going on. I went and I participated in a PEIA meeting in Beckley. And I sit and watched 4 men sit behind a table tell a room of almost 200 people that they basically had to play a video game. You know, they get on your phone and you put this app on your phone, and if you do this, this, and this, you can get gift cards. I felt like they were trying to motivate us to go home and sell Girl Scout cookies. But we have to be able to do more, because I'm telling you right now, we're going to lose our teachers. You know, what we did with corrections and the plan with corrections, I think is something that is what we need to be on the same boat when it comes to our teachers as well. You know, instead of 1% or 2%, how about, you know, a $2,000 raise this year and next year and the next year, or something like that? But I'm telling you right now, this 1% and 2% is a slap in their face, and I'm telling you, we're sitting on a powder keg. If you do not think that the teachers across our state right now are saying the S word, you're wrong. And the thing is they're leaving, and we're replacing them with people to fill the holes. I have said this before. I can remember telling a Spanish teacher that he had a dirty word on his test because he didn't speak Spanish, because the Spanish teacher left for greener pastures. And what happened is they said, we need someone to teach Spanish. Hey, you're the assistant coach. You're now going to teach Spanish. And that's going to start happening in our English classes, in our math classes, in our science classes. We're going to lose our teachers, and we as legislators need to really start paying attention to what they're saying, especially when they come up here and they walk door to door. This 1% and 2% is a slap in their face. Last year, the 2% was the first thing that they pulled. But remember, if all we're doing is giving them $25, $30 every 2 weeks, and PEIA is going to jump up $75, we're hurting them by giving them a 1% or 2%. We need to really look at this and focus on what we can do, and we can do it. Once again, we are standing on the richest grounds. There's no reason why we shouldn't ask for more. There's no reason why we can't find out exactly how much it would cost to fully fund PEIA and do that, because that would be a pay raise for every teacher, every state employer, every policeman, every fireman. That would be a pay raise for them. And that's what we need to be trying to focus our attentions on. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks, the senator from Nicholas County.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a good day to be here. I just want to take a few moments. My fellow senators recognize that we had an opportunity to travel around the state over the course of the last several months, listening to firefighters across the state. And obviously, it's Firefighters Day here at the Capitol. I'm very passionate. I still serve under that cross, the Maltese Cross of the Fire Service. After 42 years worth of service, it's one of the honors that I get to do. But as we traveled around the state, we heard a number of things that are impacting firefighters across the state, especially from the volunteer firefighting community. We heard that they are struggling. They're struggling finding volunteers to step into the roles, and they came up with some creative opportunities, some solutions they think would be things that we can do to help them recruit, and more importantly, allow them to retain firefighters in their ranks. And so over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to be running out some bills. I've got a couple that are running, but in addition to that, through the Government Organization Committee, we're going to be running some different bills out that'll be committee-sponsored bills that will help move the bubble so that our local volunteer fire departments, and there's over 400 of them serving throughout the state, Mr. President, allow them to do the things that they need to do to continue serving. When you get to looking at the volunteer firefighting community, the impact they have on West Virginia means that there's over a $400 million impact in their volunteer service that they provide. Why? Because the local communities don't have to pay for those firefighters to be there and then pay the benefits. They have an impact. But more importantly, Mr. President, we haven't looked at all the numbers, but I think the number is probably more substantive than that, because these volunteer fire departments are very committed to serving. When the insurance rates go from what's a Class 10 to, say, a Class 5 or Class 6, there's about a 300% savings to the local folks. In other words, they're paying about a third of what they should be paying in those local areas in order to provide their businesses, to take care of their homes. Why? Because the firefighters are there and they're working with the local community to make sure that the water systems are in place. They're training rigorously to make sure that they're being in a position to provide a service to our local communities. Most recently, Mr. President, ABC News ran one of the videos during the flooding events of a couple of weeks ago. It happened just a few miles north of us. 2 departments responded, pinch and frame with a boat. There was a gentleman trapped in a SUV sitting in the middle of a creek. Couldn't get in, couldn't get out. And so in order to safely address the particular issue, firefighters, taking off their bunker gear, put on their swift water rescue equipment in a small boat and positioned themselves in a way that they were able to get the victim out of the vehicle, into the boat, to safety. These are volunteers. They didn't get paid for that. The training time that they spent was at their time because they are committed to serving. Mr. President, we need to do something for the fire service this year to make sure that they stay here to protect the lives and the property of West Virginians and those we invite to come to wild, wonderful West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senator from Boone County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the remarks by the senators from Logan and Nicholas counties be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Senator from Boone requests unanimous consent that the remarks by the senator from Logan and the senator from Nicholas be printed in the appendix of the journal. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Further remarks? Further remarks. Miscellaneous business. The senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request unanimous consent that leave of absence for the day be granted to the senator from Harrison and the senator from Monroe.
The senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that leave of absence for the day be granted to the senator from Monroe and the senator from Harrison, and to the senior senator from the 16th. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Requesting unanimous consent that leave of absence for the day be granted to the senior senator from the 17th as well.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that leave of the day also be granted to the senior senator from the 17th. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. The senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subject to announcements, move the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? The senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Finance will meet today at 3 p.m., room 451M. It'll be for the members of the Subcommittee A, and we'll have budget presentations from the Department of Agriculture, the State Conservation Agency, and the Attorney General. I would also like to announce that the full committee will meet tomorrow morning at 9:30, and we've got a bunch of rules bills that we're going to run through and take care of that. But at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you, Mr. President.
The senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will also meet today at 3 o'clock p.m. in the Judiciary Committee room in the West Wing. We have an agenda that's up and posted.
Further announcements. The senator from Marshall County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Economic Development will not be meeting today.
Further announcements. Further announcements. The senator from Wood County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your subcommittee, Education Subcommittee on SB 111 will meet today at 5 p.m. in room 451M.
Further announcements. The senator from Upshur County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Pensions will meet today at 2 p.m. in 451M.
Further announcements. Further announcements? Not, the question before the Senate is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.